I'm Ellen the Crazy Crafty Lady, here with another awesome video. I haven't done one in a minute or two. I'm busy working usually most of the time, but I'm off today, so thought we could hang out and chat a little while I make my new tool bag for work. I do have my big bag that I made to carry all my stuff in, which is my awesome flag bag. Now I want to make a little bag to put just my tool stuff in, to put in my big bag for work. So I thought we could hang out today and I'll make a little bag and we could hang out for the ride. So let's get started. We have our two outer pieces, which is going to be flag stuff, and our lining piece, which is smaller than our actual outer pieces, but we are going to cut these and make this cool bag out of them. So let's begin. Here is our cardboards. We have our lining one and our outer piece one, and they are 10.5 by 13 and 10.5 by 14. And then we are going to cut in half. I've already got the squares made, so they just need to be cut out. So what we can do is just a little quick measurement, put those together like that. And then what we want to do is find our 7-inch mark, and we can just make a little small divot in that. Oh, my pen's not working. Let me see. Put that on like that. Let me find something better to write. Make my marking with. White crayon, my favorite. Yes. That's about good. Once you cut, most of it'll kind of like vanish anyways. Right, let's see if we can get this lined up on here, and then we can get it lined up right on this line. Let me make sure you can still see what I'm working on. Yes, you can. Sometimes I get messed up on that. And what we want to do is a handy cutter, make sure it's lined up. You want to get it as even as you can. And then what we want to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And cut it right down the center of both pieces. Alright. Now we can set this aside. You always want to close your blade up because mishaps always happen. Alright, let's take these and separate them. And here's where it gets interesting. We're going to take these two and make them like this. What we want to do is fold them over that, and we can always do some little bit of trimming at the end too. So let's put these together and let's put these together. Hands are so stuck this week. Okay. Yeah, we will do some actual trimming off in the end. Alright, let's try this. Let me make sure that if they should be this way or they should be that way. Let's see. Once I turn them, then they'll go the right way. They should. If not, it's going to be a fun bag and it's going to be different. And that will be quite lovely. And we have our awesome little, we have a nice blue zipper. that we're going to put on here. And a little star for the zipper pull, which will be so awesome. All right, let's put this back. And we will put it like this. All right, let's take us over to the machine and we will sew these together. Our panels, our iron is ready on the other side of the room. So let's get us adjusted here. Alright, that should be enough for you to at least see the sewing part. Let's make sure these are, you can always use these awesome Wonder Clips if you want to throw something on there just to kind of keep a side of it in place. And let's just put a couple on there and it'll stay in one spot, just like that. And then it will sit. And we want to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance on this so that all parts line up and match. So let's do a couple of back stitches. And we will sew down. Move that clip. Sometimes you want to leave the clips so your work doesn't move too much. And let's do that. And then we'll put that on the end. Take it off. Get ready for a couple of back stitches. And there we have the first, and we can always clip a little of the corners if you want to. And look at that. Isn't that something nice? All right, let's kind of just give that a little pressing over here. Let's get our other sides, and let's put the clips on this side as well, just to kind of hold it in place. And we will sew this side another 1/2 inch. Back stitch. That might not be completely perfect, but we will do trimming. That one off. Let's see if we can just kind of pull this end a little out. Hold that in place as we finish to the end. Back stitch a few times. And there we have that. Looks fantastic. All right, now what we want to do is just kind of go press our seams at the ironing board. Oh, let me see. We can run to the ironing board. My iron is all set up and ready to go. And we will just hand press our seams. And then we'll give the iron a little more of a reheat since it kind of sat for a minute. And just give that seam a nice press. Give it an overall press. Clean up any little strings on it. That's pretty good. And we'll give this one a nice pressing as well. Sorry about that. You can't see all my pressing I'm doing. All right, and there we have that all nicely pressed. All right, looks great. Looks great. Once the panels go together, it'll be a fun piece. They might not line up the striped side with the striped side, but that's quite all right too, because it's going to be a fun bag. All right, let's come back to the table. And now what we want to do is make our boxy corners. We have this, which is going to make our corners. It's a 2.5, but we're going to do it by 2. And we can use a crayon again, or a pencil, or a pen, or whatever we want to use to just kind of, let me move this up a hair. And we will see if I can get this pen to work, because I seem to like it better. Let me see. There we go, it worked. Let's do this side. And they don't have to totally be perfect either. There's that. Let's get this one in here. Set that aside for the moment. And let's do... This is a project that I started. A different one though, but the same concept. Probably a month ago now, and it just didn't work out my way. I didn't like the way it worked, so after it was together halfway, I made a little quickie video on it just so you could see something like that. This is the whole video and everything that it takes to make it come out sort of like that, but with a different pattern, of course, but the same concept. And there we have our corners. And now what we need to do is cut out our corners. And I save every little square of material because I can reuse these for other projects. And you want to try to make them as good as you can, but they don't have to be perfect because they're going to be folded over anyways. There's one. Set that aside. I have another bag of those or squares of those somewhere. And let's cut this one out. Sometimes you got to turn it and there's that one. And the squares will be perfect for some little projects and stuff like that. So I save everything. I sure do. All material can, even the smallest pieces, if you can't use it to make something, you can use it to stuff something. And that's been my motto since I began sewing, probably, almost. There's that one, and there's this one. Okay. find something to put these in later. All right, that's those. Now what we need to do is prepare our lining. Our really awesome lining that I so love. We're going to make the little squares on the lining as well. Pen back. If it doesn't show up good on here, I'll have to use it's close enough. Close enough. All right, let's put this one on this side. There we go. Now we can get these cut out. Well, I have to make the squares on that one yet. There's that one. All right, let's grab this one. Set that aside. And we will do the corners on this one. I was almost forgetting that I need to do the corners on this one. All right, let's put this here. And they don't have to be exactly perfect, but you want them pretty well so that your bag does not look lopsided. That can be deflating. All right, let's set that aside. Put the lid back on that. All right, let's get our we should use smaller scissors on this part. There's that. And let's get this one. Here we go. Have all our corners cut out. Now what we want to do is try and layer this awesome pouch. All right, let me set these aside. One of these, one of these. This is our lining piece. We're going to lay that face up on the table. This is our outer piece. And what we want to do is now we're ready for seam tape. Seam tape is awesome. My best friend, like I said in the last video, I love it. It does a lot for me. It does all my zippers because me and the clips only are good for me for certain things because I have to use them for some things and it's perfect, but they just aren't my friend for zippers is all because I can't, they don't work right for some reason. All right, let me grab my little scissors. Okay, put that on like that. All right, let's peel. No, it doesn't come off yet. Okay. All right, so so that one's ready to go. Let's do, it probably should have done, this part first, but that's okay. Let's line up this with some of our awesome seam tape. Sometimes the zippers like to curl on the ends. All right, let's cut that. There we go. Seam tape. All right, now what we're gonna do first is, let me see if I almost forgot where that went for a minute. All right, we got our upper piece that's gonna go here. All right, so let's take this piece off. It's not sticking very well. Okay. Let me try peeling it from this side and see. Nope, this old tape doesn't want to peel off very well. Nope, I'm not getting it to peel off. All right, let's try again. All right, let me try. Let me borrow the little scissors and just kind of. Okay. My tape is not working today. Nope, it doesn't want to stick. It doesn't want to peel. It wants to stick too much. Oh, sorry about that, folks. I don't mean to take long like this. I can't get the tape to come off. I may have to grab a new piece. Oh, here we go. I don't have the nails I used to have either, so this is not. I am really sorry about this, folks, but I am not having the luck with it right now. All right, we're gonna have to, I will save this piece for the future, and let's try another piece. All right, let's try one more piece. All right, let's try this one and see what we get from it. My tape must not be that good anymore. There we go. All right. Okay, let's put our zipper on. Stick it down as we go. All right, let's get the seam tape off of the zipper. That's usually the easy one. Of course it is. And we'll throw these pieces just aside somewhere and I'll clean them up later. Oops. All right, let's put this piece, our outer piece, we're gonna lay that face down, like creating a little zipper sandwiched in between the two layers. All right, now what we want to do is take it to our sewing machine. Let me see. Let me go over just a little bit more to the edge on this side. We want to make this to look as even as we can so that it doesn't come out not right later. All right, this one's a hair smaller than that piece. So let's try to get it in the middle. Sometimes it just wants to play tricks. All right. All right, let's go back to the sewing machine. And we will sew this together. Of course, I'm my own cameraman too, so it does take me a minute to work on this. All right, we're going to put our 2 layers. We won't need clips because we have used the seam tape. And you never need clips when you're using seam tape. We'll do this part slow because the zipper is there. Backspace a couple times. Just kind of, you can do this a little past this part, a little, the edge, a little past the middle thing, just to make sure that it's far enough on it. I'm just gonna fix my end a little bit, even it out. Almost to the end, and a little back stitch. There we have that. Looks fantastic. Starting to look like a bag. Now let's go back over to our table and we will put the other side on. All right, let's do this. Kind of just use our hands and just kind of flatten it a bit. Alright, let's get our seam tape. We will use this piece now on the other part of the zipper because it will be easy to get it to come off. So we will not waste at the price you have to pay for some things now in the sewing room. Yep, I try not to be wasteful if I can help it. Try to use everything I can and repurpose just so many things, especially like material. Okay, there we go. It might not work still. This old piece of tape might not be any good. But let me see. There we go. And it is being used. All right. And we need one more piece for our lining so that we can put the lining on the bottom. That one worked for that piece. Sometimes I'm backwards and I do different parts first. Let me slide that over. But we're going to put this other piece on our lining. All right, let's get our little scissors. Cut the end off. I like to leave it a hair short, so I got a way to pull this from that. And let's see if we can get this one to come off easy this time. I have to get a new roll of seam tape out, probably. Let's try this side and just... Oh, looks like this old seam tape is not great anymore. Let me see if I can just kind of find that little piece of an end. That's usually what has to be done. Now all my nails are gone because of what I do at work, so I have issues there too. Nope, it doesn't want to. It's starting to work, but it just... There it comes. It doesn't want to come off. It's trying to. I'm just not having the luck with it today. It doesn't want to work today. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. I just have some old stuff that I gotta use. And all right, let's put that on first. Let's line it up. Make sure this side's gonna line up. Looks like it will. We'll put that like that. Right here is where we need to kind of line that up too. All right. Let me turn it this way a minute and kind of just... This is the part you kind of want it to line up good, because then it doesn't... Okay. There we go. All right, let's go to our machine while we're holding this, and we will get it sewed on. Let's put our, actually, we're not even ready for the machine. Sorry, folks. I got a little bit, I did get, gotta have this piece on here. This would help if I had the top piece. I was so worried about a zipper that I forgot to grab this piece. We must sew this piece on as well. There we go. All right, we're all set to go to the machine now. Let's go to the machine and we will sew this on. And we will sew this. Again, once again, just past that middle spot. Couple of back stitches. Kind of like get our stuff out of the way. Just kind of sew it down. Hold that down. All right, let's open it up and let's see what we have. A little bit of sticky tape there. Looks fantastic. Here is our lining. looks fantastic. And here is our outer. Now what we want to do, we can press it or we can just go ahead and do a top stitch. So I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick top stitch since I'm let me just kind of press all these out of the way. Make sure that they're not going to get sewn over. All right. And you can always hold this down too as you sew. We'll just put that along the edge. And then just kind of grasp this inside one just to make sure. Little back stitching here doesn't hurt. And then just kind of pull on it, pull it out a bit. Our boxy corners next. Back stitch. Gives it a nice finish too, makes everything look great, and then trim our corners a little bit and our strings and things like that. And some of these will be hidden inside anyways. And then we'll go and hold down this side. Pull on that just a little bit. Put it in there. And then just grab this a little bit and give it a tug. Back stitch. Kind of give this outer one a hair of a tug too. Just to be sure that we're not sewing over the zipper at all, because that can be deflating. And you might as well start the whole project over because you can't really get that undone. And the back stitch. And you can always give everything a pressing after if you want. That looks all right. Starting to look like a really awesome pouch. Now what we want to do is pull our two parts together, our lining and our outer, and we will make boxy corners. So let me get you back over at the table. All right, let's do this. This is where you could use pins or clips or whatever. Sometimes I use the clips. Sometimes. I'll just get a handful of these little clips out. Clean my mess up later like I always do. Okay, this is where we also need the zipper undone a little bit. And we are going to leave an opening in the lining. So when we are ready to close it off, and this is what we want to do for the moment. I'm going to put a clip or two on this part, just so that I can do my corners. Actually, I'm going to sew it together first, and then we'll look at corners. So we're going to leave. That's the way to go. Sometimes I like to get the corners done so quickly that... Okay, let's make sure this part is even. Let's put some clips in here. And then we'll, after we sew it, we'll do those boxy corners. It will be a better plan, actually. And we're going to leave the lining side with our little opening to flip everything. Doesn't have to be a big opening, but big enough that it'll easily, everything will go through. Now this is where you want to play with your zipper, because you want it to go toward the lining side. And then you want to put a clip in that so that it lays right when you do this. And let's get some more of these little clips out. And we'll do the other side as well real quick. And we'll make sure that this side is also facing the lining. That can be deflating as well if you get one side wrong. Okay, and then we'll just finish putting these around the outside of our pouch. And clip it. Clip our lining. Make sure that it's lined up good. Sometimes you have to flip and you have to fix. There we go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. I might need more clips because I like to use a lot of clips. I do. One more clip. Let me see. I got a few in there still in the bowl. All right. There's one more clip. All right. And we're going to sew from here to here. From here to here. And then stop. And then go here. All the way here. Stop. Here. Stop. Here. Stop. All right. Let's get you back to the machine. And we will sew around this thing. And you always want to start where your opening for the lining is going to be. I like to do that anyways. That's usually what anybody would do because it just works that way. Now this part, you can use your discretion. You can do a 1/2 inch or you can do slightly under. Sometimes I do slightly under 1/2 inch just because it gives you just a little added space in the pouch. But I just take it on the inside of this instead of the outside. And then you can just go around, trim all your stuff, all your strings if you need to trim any. You can trim them when you get done. It makes it easier and it's less time. Next stitch. You have to be careful sometimes. I call it sewing the finger. You get your hand under there, your finger, and it's very painful. Then I'll move that clip down. And then when we do come to the zipper, which is here, you do want to go back and forth over it a few times. just to make sure it stays in place and it holds it on good. Okay, let's slide this down to our end. Well, let's even it up a little bit first. Okay. Take that off. That stitch. Now we're coming to this corner. Slide that down just enough so we can put our foot on. Do our back stitching. You kind of trim a couple things here. All right. That there. Do our little bit of back stitching. Go around this side. Slide that clip down in here. Okay, move this back a little bit. Just remove that for now. Slide this one down. Let's adjust that piece a little bit. Now we're at the other side of the zipper on the other side of the pouch. So we're going to move that clip down and we're going to go over it and do it back and forth a few times. Ooh, my machine doesn't sound great with that. So let's slide the hook down and let's carry on. Okay. Let's kind of stretch this and pull it a little bit. Until we get toward the end. Back stitch a couple times. Cut it off. All right, this is it. One more little side on the corner to go. Back stitch. I'm going to use my finger for a little marker for this part. Back stitch. There we go. We have a sewn together pouch. Now what we want to do is take our ends. We can just probably sit here and do that. If I can get my hands in there. And make our corners, and this is where you want the corners to lay the same way. So let's see. This is going that way. So what we're going to do is one goes one way and the other goes the other way. So this one's going that way and this one will go that way. And we will do it like this. And get our little corner edge out. We can do is put one in the middle. Just hold it in place. All right, let's try this out. And then we can just kind of pull this piece out as we go. All right, let's see. It doesn't want to hold on to that for a minute. All right, we're going to do this a little less than a half an inch as well. Just kind of like pull that a little straight. Back stitch. Doesn't hurt to go slow on this part a little bit. All right. That is our corner. Let's do this corner. And we will line this corner up the same way. Make sure this top part is going to the right so that it lines up with the other end here. And then this part will get sewn together after we flip it. And then we can just grab a little clip, put it over the middle, just kind of fold our whole piece over to the machine. A little less than a half an inch. Back stitch. And then just kind of hold it down. Take that clip off so we can pull this little bit of piece out. There we go. Back stitch. Looks great. And these strings aren't too bad, and they're on the inside, so nobody's ever going to see them. I do like to clip them a little bit off. Okay, now let's get to this side. This is where we got to watch and make sure that everything is cut the same way too, so that the top up here matches down here. So this one's going, let's see which way is it going, and we will get this one to go the same way. So it's going to the right, so this one has to go to the right. So that one goes to the right, and this side goes to the left. So we're going to just kind of fold it over, fold that whole thing like that. And we'll just put a clip in there just to hold that till we get it on the machine. And then we'll just kind of, let me see. Let me just kind of, okay. Put a clip back on. All right, let's get it on the machine. And we will be a little under a quarter, a half an inch, under half an inch, a little bit. Back stitch. All right, let's pull that off so we can kind of like straighten it a bit. Yep, and hold that piece down. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want it to look lopsided in the end. Back stitch, trim off, cut a couple strings, although you'll never see them, they're on the inside. They're just the stragglers from the canvas. All right, let's do this side. So this side's going that way. And this side is going this way. Let's see, yep, and we have it right on. As you can see, we're putting this side on. Let's just throw a quick clip in the middle, offside a hair, and we will take that off, make this straight as we can. Cut that. Now you can also trim off if you think you have too much on this part. But I'm not going to do all that because it doesn't look that bad. It's fine and dandy. Just cut some strings off a little bit. Now we can just stand here or sit here, stay here, and reach in and pull out. Flip our pouch inside out. And just, sometimes you gotta keep on folding it until it goes through. There we go. And then we want to pull. This part goes there, and this part comes out here. There goes my furnace kicking on, yay! Pull all these corners out. We can unzip it as we go along. And then we can reach in. I have a big poker screwdriver, but I'm not going to use it right now. There we go there. There's that. Let's poke our zipper end out so that it looks fantastic. Sure does. Looks great. And not perfectly even there, but it's mostly perfect, and everything else looks so perfectly even. Okay, let's do this. All right, now let's pull our corners over to the side a little bit and get our middle, and we will just kind of fold it. Sometimes I iron this part, but I'm not going to iron it today because it's folding over just the way it should, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And then we just want to, the smallest edge, just enough to, let's clip some of this right here. There we go. We can clip that later too as well. That stitch. Stitch. Clip our string. This we want to clip off. Scissors need to be cleaned up. Okay, make sure that we didn't miss any parts of this. All right, let's go back to our table for a minute. And we will push our lining in the bag. Just kind of get it in there. Let's grab our awesome little zipper pull. And this is the part where I don't have the fingers for either. But I'm going to do my best to get it started and get it over the little zipper. Let me see. Let me try it from this side. And we'll put it right on our little zipper. There we go. And there we go. Now it's upside down, but that's okay. I can fix it later. And voila. It is awesome. Our inside, our outside, and our awesome zipper pull. What an awesome bag that is. And this is my video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.